Welcome to the Polite Conversations podcast, where every episode is focused on civility, decorum, and good manners. And I'm your lovable, non-controversial host, Ina. If you know me, you know I definitely don't like to ruffle any feathers at all. Hello, dear listeners. I read an article in the Wall Street Journal the other day, which I just absolutely had to share some highlights and takes on with you. I mean, wow, what a fucking ridiculous timeline we exist in. The richest, most powerful man in the world is a deluded Nazi with an unhinged breeding fetish. I know. Generally, the rule is not to kink shame, but I make an exception for kinks that are fashy and right-wing. So, strap in, you naughty little listeners, and let's kink shame Elon. All right, I'm trying to do this in a hurry because I have a long queue of amazing episodes to edit, but I just had to take some time to put this out, so it's going to be real casual, just me reading the article and sharing my takes on it. Let me know if you like impromptu episodes like this that require less planning, and if you do, we can definitely try to incorporate more of these. All right, so if you're a regular listener, you'll know that I've been covering these pro-natalist weirdos for a bit now. I haven't done any deep dives on this specific topic, but they did come up in our race science series. I've written about them when I wrote my Patreon exclusive multi-part series on the ex-Muslim to Trad Fash Pipeline. Basically, this is a weird and terrifying movement with a disproportionate amount of power because they have a lot of fashy Silicon Valley billionaires on their side. It is very clearly a eugenics and white nationalist movement, but for some reason, most of the time when mainstream media covers that weirdo couple, Simone and Malcolm Collins, they at best tiptoe around that very important fucking part. And it only comes up as a side note, when that should be the whole fucking story. They recently had this breeding conference, Natal Con or some shit. Extremely radicalized ex-Muslim Sarah Haider was tweeting about how she was sad she was going to miss it. And she was mocking some article for correctly framing it as a gathering of eugenicists, which she then characterized as fun. Hey, who doesn't think eugenics is fun, eh? The tickets apparently cost up to $10,000 per person. Very, very clearly not a grassroots or normal movement or event. Anyway, so that's a little background about this eugenicsy movement with a lot of very rich and influential supporters. Obviously, as I just mentioned, there are connections with some of the ex-Muslim crew, and of course the heterodox and IDW crew, the Evo psych enjoyers, that whole extremism masquerading as rational ecosystem. Forget creeping Sharia like so many of these freaks love to fearmonger about. We truly have a creeping white nationalism and eugenics problem. And it's in the White House. So if it's not stopped or recognized for what it is, there could be some very serious consequences. We are currently living through a period of time where the increasingly fascist U.S. government, assisted by a Nazi billionaire, is abducting people of color, Muslims, from the streets for literal thought crimes or for daring to oppose genocidal U.S. and Israeli violence, for having tattoos that say mom or dad, for vague labels of terrorist or Hamas sympathizer. These are all things that fit into a white nationalist and eugenics agenda very well. Mass violence against marginalized people, disappearing people of color, and genociding brown people in the Middle East. Stripping away freedoms, attacking reproductive rights, attacking education, and intellectuals in particular. Anyone that can point out what is happening. So I need people to understand the scale of this issue here. Even though we're going to be laughing at what a loser Elon Musk is and making fun of him, let's not lose sight of how serious this all is and how it all ties in perfectly with a white supremacist agenda. Remember when Sam Harris told us white supremacy was fringe of the fringe? That we were on the last lap of racism? Whatever the fuck that means. That we've outgrown the need for civil rights laws. That has not aged very well, has it? Just keep that kind of so-called rational centrist bullshit in mind when you see these fascists chipping away at all your freedoms. Those are the people who opened the door for them and ushered them in. All right, so on to this article now. It's titled, "The Tactics Elon Musk Uses to Manage His Legion of Babies and Their Mothers." And just right there, you can tell this is about to be some absolute freak shit. I will link it in the show notes. But a couple of months ago, I did an episode on the gamer gatification of America. And this harem that Elon has created is really a symptom of that. You'll see as we go along, but it's deeply connected to this very online culture of misogyny, how he harasses his children's mothers online, sometimes with the assistance of original Gamergate troll, Milo Yiannopoulos even. How he belittles them and gets away with it because no one has the money to stand up to him. In fact, he's bought himself the Gamergate platform and turned up the dial on misogyny. And he infuses that into his everyday philosophy, which now helps run the US government. Oh, all right, the subtitle. There's a lot going on there too. "The world's richest man juggles more than a dozen children and quote-unquote harem drama, along with running his companies and advising Trump. He recently took a paternity test in battle with one woman over money and privacy." I personally find it a little sus in my real life when I encounter younger people who have more than 3 children. I'm not talking like my grandparents' generation. I'm talking about like now. Like, okay, it could be an accident, but if in the modern day someone is planning to have more than 3 kids, I can't help but assume there are some weird beliefs that go hand in hand with that. Maybe not always, sure, but like immediately it feels a bit weird to me. It's so expensive now. To even be able to afford kids is a privilege, and to be able to afford more than 3 is like, wow. And if you're intentionally doing that in the 2020s, I have to wonder why. Like, okay, not always, but it's usually accompanied by some weird fundamentalist religious beliefs or some other weird trad life ideology. Of course, people can have multiples, which, can just happen, or you can orchestrate it via IVF. I'm not an antinatalist, I'm a parent myself, and those doomer antinatalists, well, that's a whole other can of worms, but, like, really, having a lot of kids is just odd to me in the 2020s. And I'm not even talking about Elon numbers here. The person Elon had his paternity battle with is right-wing influencer Ashley St. Clair, and him and Milo Yiannopoulos were being nasty to her online not too long ago. Like, you don't have to agree with her politics to find this sort of behavior abhorrent. But anyway, let's start the article. Ashley St. Clair wanted to prove that Elon Musk was the father of her newborn baby. But to ask the billionaire to take a paternity test, the right-wing social media influencer had to go through Musk's longtime fixer, Jared Birchall. "I don't want my son to feel like he's a secret," St. Clair told Birchall in a 2-hour phone call in December. Birchall offered St. Clair some advice. His boss was a, quote, "very big-hearted, kind, and generous person," he said. But Musk had a different side. When a mother of his child goes, quote, "the legal route" in these discussions, that always always leads to a worse outcome for that woman than what it would have been otherwise, Birchall told the 26-year-old. Plus, he said, Musk wasn't sure the child was his. It wasn't the first such conversation for Birchall. His public job is running Musk's family office, and he recently helped organize Musk's more than $250 million push in support of Donald Trump's election. Behind the scenes, Birchall also manages the financial and privacy deals Musk wants for the women raising the world's richest man's babies. Immediately, it's so gross and impersonal, Imagine having a baby with someone and you can't even talk to them directly. You have to fucking go through a fixer. What the fuck? It's so clinical and just not a normal way for humans to navigate these very personal issues. And then you have this condescending ass fixer subtly threaten you that if you dare go the legal route, the outcome's going to be worse for you than it would have been otherwise. You better watch it. And there's, of course, a nice little reminder of how Elon bought the election for the Stop the Steal people in the supposedly democratic country of the U.S. It's no longer one, I don't think. That's pretty obvious. But back then, during the election, it was supposed to have been a democratic country. And that last little bit of what I just read out, behind the scenes, Birchall also manages the financial and privacy deals Musk wants for the women raising the world's richest man's babies. Just so fucking creepy. Like a corporation of child incubators that are all on contract. Your silence is bought, your compliance is bought, your submission is bought. Here, have a few million and shut the fuck up and raise the white babies how I tell you. It is, obviously, just about making more white babies, right? We all know that. If we were to take the population of the whole world into account, there's no threat of a great population bust. This is about wanting certain candidates to breed and about waging a war, cutting aid, bombing the shit out of, etc., another group of people who are having too many babies. Musk has had at least 14 children with 4 women, including the pop musician Grimes and Siobhan Zillis, an executive at his brain computer company Neuralink. Multiple sources close to the tech entrepreneur said they believe the true number of Musk's children is much higher than publicly known. Yeah, like I said before, if someone has a lot of children, especially if it's more than 10, in this present day, I think it's safe to assume that there's some sort of extremism at play, like religious or the fashy kind. The brain computer company is just too on the nose, just a perfect thing to exist in a story about a Nazi billionaire who has a breeding fetish. Musk offered Sinclair $15 million and $100,000 a month in support in exchange for her silence about the child whom they named Romulus. Similar agreements had been negotiated with other mothers of Musk's children, Birchall told St. Clair. Now, that's a fuckload of money. So you can see how it might convince people, especially right-wing types. In Musk's dark view of the world, civilization is under threat because of a declining population. He is driven to correct the historic moment by helping seed the earth with more human beings of high intelligence, according to people familiar with the matter. Ah, there it is. Seed the earth with more human beings of high intelligence. Remind me again, were there any reasonable, rational intellectuals who helped to legitimize this IQ bullshit? Even connect it with race? Can you think of any such people? I mean, clearly, people like Elon or the Trump administration as a whole don't actually value intelligence and knowledge. Otherwise, they wouldn't be putting things in the hands of exceptionally incompetent people. They wouldn't be gutting funding for science and research. They wouldn't be attacking universities or diversity. It's about dominance of the white race. That's really what it boils down to, again and again and again. Musk refers to his offspring as a quote-unquote legion, a reference to the ancient military units that could contain thousands of soldiers and were key to extending the reach of the Roman Empire. I mean, this is just unhinged delusions of grandeur, right? He really seems to think of himself as this great historical figure, a warrior, or godlike even. The only reason people indulge his silly make-believe nonsense is because of how much money and power he has. It's a perfect illustration of why billionaires shouldn't exist. There has never been a better example than Musk. He's so drunk on power, like it's broken his brain. He seems to be unable to experience reality as it is. He's living in some weird video game fantasy where he's building an army, a legion of white babies, most of which are male, apparently. Probably why he reacted so atrociously to having a trans daughter, because she was unwilling to be a participant in his white man army that he's trying so hard to build. During St. Clair's pregnancy, Musk suggested that they bring in other women to have even more of their children faster, quote, to reach legion level before the apocalypse, he said to St. Clair in a text message viewed by the Wall Street Journal. Quote, we will need to use surrogates. This had to have been a major fucking red flag. You know you're not dealing with someone who wants to be a loving parent, have regular human interaction. Like, he's just collecting children. For what, I would ask? Extremely culty and terrifying to find yourself pregnant with this vile man's child and then realize he's trying to create some weird army. I'm sure there were hundreds of red flags before that, but like, some people are very blinded by and attracted to power and money, even when it's coming from someone as repulsive as Elon. He's just such a repulsive pig, unattractive in every possible way. He seems to have no talent other than stealing and taking credit for other people's work. He is not charming or charismatic in the slightest. He doesn't seem intelligent at all. He gets sucked into every dumbass right-wing conspiracy theory. He is not physically attractive. So, yeah, I don't know what right-wing women are finding even remotely tolerable about him, aside from the millions he pays them, of course. I don't know, man. You could not pay me enough to become an incubator for that disgusting man. My ovaries are just like shriveling at the thought of being anywhere near him. Ugh. Okay, so the article continues. He has recruited potential mothers on his social media platform X, according to some of the people. God, what a loser, firstly. And secondly, there's that gamer gatification again, that onlineification. He's trying to recruit mothers for his legion for the supremacy and so-called survival of the white race. This is supposed to be of civilizational importance, is it not? To be recruiting for this 14 words ass task via Twitter DMs is just seriously clown shit. Just like something you'd read in The Onion. Musk has used his wealth to buy the silence of some women who have his kids. According to St. Clair, as well as other people, text messages, and documents reviewed by the Journal. Of course he has. He has absolutely nothing else of value. So this is how he controls the people around him, including the mothers of his children. This is abusive shit, if we're being honest. If you're not doing anything psychotic, then you don't need to be buying the silence of the many women having your babies. Non-disclosure clauses are part of some of the payment agreements. If the mothers push back or seek outside counsel, Musk's advisors, including Birchall, have threatened financial retribution, according to the documents and people. He's just an abusive man. He wants total control. Birchall described Musk's expectations to St. Clair. Quote, "Privacy and confidentiality is the top of the list in every aspect of his life. Every aspect. And his entire world is set up to be like a meritocracy." End quote. "Benefits flow," he said, when, quote, "people do good work." End quote. Meritocracy. Oh, yeah, it's so fucking ridiculously condescending and infantilizing and patronizing. These women are not working for him. There's no merit involved. He's handpicked each of them, and they aren't his employees. They are having children with him. It's so hard for him to be even a little human. He has to manage his baby mamas like employees at a corporation. During the call with Birchall, St. Clair told him she had received outreach from a woman Musk had invited to have his baby. She said she was being caught up in Musk's harem drama. I'd say it was a bit more than just harem drama, more like evil plans for world domination. I wonder if he uses words like harem himself, or if he has some other gross term to describe the women he's convinced to be inseminated by him. Ugh. Imagine how pissed he must get when rejected if he makes one of these loser DM offers. Everything he does just reeks of unbelievable loser who hasn't had a single normal human relationship. That, of course, really says something about his parents. We know his grandpa was an actual Nazi who moved to South Africa to support apartheid. So, yeah, quite the family. The details of Musk's baby mission are only now starting to spill into the public. Grimes begged Musk in February for help on X when one of their children was having a medical crisis because Musk wouldn't engage with her. Earlier that month, after their 4-year-old son, also called X, had been on national television on his father's shoulders as he talked about government cuts in the Oval Office, Grimes posted that, quote, "He should not be in public like this." Baby mission. Baby mission is really a euphemism for what this is, and gosh, as much as I despise her politics and the kind of shit that initially drew her to a fucking creep like Elon, I really feel sorry for Grimes, too. She is now trapped forever in connection with this evil, evil man who controls her children and when they can see her. He can cut her off whenever he wants and fight things in court endlessly because he has an endless supply of money. So he basically doesn't have to abide by any ruling or law. He's out there using her child as a prop in front of the world. It's probably not a great or healthy way for him to grow up, and there's nothing she can do, it seems. All I can hope is that through little leaks of information like this, and this is probably just the tip of the iceberg, let's be real, that more women who are potential candidates for his insemination project now become aware of what a cruel control freak he is and how no amount of money should be worth giving up one's own rights and freedom and dignity to this extent, that you have a precious, vulnerable little baby with a freak like Elon. Musk has warned that, quote, "civilization is going to crumble if people don't start having more children," a view popularized as pro-natalism in right-wing circles. Ah yes, there it is again. Civilization is a fash dog whistle, and though he says people, here we know exactly what types of people's fertility he wants to encourage. It's very specific, and people need to say that at every turn. The pro-natalism movement is composed of people concerned about the birth rate and eager to implement policy and cultural solutions to the problem. Always interrogate that further in articles, I'd say. What type of people is it composed of? Whose birth rates are they concerned about? And what types of policy and cultural solutions are they suggesting? Are they doing anything to make it more affordable to have children currently? Doesn't seem like it. Seems like they're just looking to make forced births a thing by taking away reproductive rights. There's some rifts on the right about this too, and there have been since Trump's first term. There are the more Trad Fash types who are more and more emboldened to say that they do not want women in the public sphere. Their only job should be to make babies. They shouldn't be going to work. They shouldn't be podcasting. They shouldn't be creating content either, apparently. Then there are the slightly more modern types like Megyn Kelly, who was recently upset that she's talking to more and more young right-wing women who can't find a partner because young right-wing men don't want to be with an independent woman who works for a living. And Kelly, of course, takes this very personally because she is one of those women. Well, it's the left and feminists who fought for those rights for you, Megyn Kelly, and will continue to fight for those rights. When taken to its logical conclusion, the right will want to go back to a time where you won't want to be. I remember when Lauren Southern and some other Nazi women were complaining about the misogyny in the alt-right. I think we did an episode about that, like back in 2017 or something. But yeah, like what did you think you were signing up for fuck's sake? This was always the agenda. Your pick-me bullshit was never going to save you. It's like Serena in Handmaid's Tale being a prominent part of laying the groundwork for the world in which she's later abused and where her whole value is tied to her ability to have a child by any means, where her husband punishes her by cutting her finger off. Like, fuck, man, this is what you fought for. You made this happen. Anyway, back to the article. Martin Varsavsky, a friend of Musk's who founded a large chain of in vitro fertilization clinics in the U.S., said he has spoken with Musk about the risks of falling birth rates. Oh, it's so nightmarish that Musk just has all the pieces of this in place. A friend who's founded a large chain of IVF clinics? What a strange coincidence for a guy who's obsessed with birth rates. Quote, without babies, there's no future. Every problem becomes secondary to the problem of not having people on the planet, said Varsavsky. Quote, Elon believes that a country is not the geography. A country is the people, end quote. Really wondering about the motivation behind this Varsavsky guy's clinics now, because we have enough people on the planet, just not in the places you want, perhaps. And immigrants are not a welcome option, I suppose. And this whole Elon believes that a country is not the geography but the people thing, well, that's just white nationalist talk. I've heard Elon discuss this explicitly. It's great replacement. He says something like, if you took all the people out of Italy and replaced it with another population, what you have left won't be Italy, even if it's in the same geographical location. You catch his drift? The white countries won't be those countries anymore if you let black and brown people have more babies than white people. Oh, there we go. He actually kindly spells it out for us further down in the article. Separately, Musk has said he is concerned about what he called third world countries having higher birth rates than the US and Europe. A person familiar with the conversation said, one of the most important ways to change these dynamics, he has repeatedly told people close to him, is for educated people to have more children. So there it is. Third world countries having higher birth rates than the US and Europe. A totally normal thing that keeps totally normal people up at night. And educated people is code for white, not those black and brown savages. It's really not about educated people because this administration, the Trump and Elon one, is attacking higher education, science, research, and scholars, doctoral students, as we speak. These educated people are the wrong color, you see, the ones that are being abducted by ICE. In 2023, he had a meeting in Austin where people he described as Japanese officials asked him to be a sperm donor for a high-profile woman, according to a text message reviewed by the Journal. Quote, they want me to be a sperm donor. No romance or anything, just sperm, he texted St. Clair. Musk later told her he gave his sperm to the woman who asked for it without naming the woman. Now here, there's some mention of non-white people, Japanese officials, which could be confusing for people who aren't familiar with white supremacists, but they talk about Japan quite often, both in terms of their deeply flawed race and IQ obsession. It's a way Sam Harris has tried to shield himself from accusations of racism when navigating his Charles Murray apologetics. He often says something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing because I'm not going to go dig up the exact quotes, okay, internet pedants? So he says something like, well, if it's racist to say white people have higher IQs than black people, is it racist to say that Asians have higher IQs than white people? Gotcha, wokes. See, I'm not racist. I fully admit there are people with higher IQs than the white race. Or they'll complain about how the left doesn't criticize how you don't really call non-ethnically Japanese people Japanese even if they live there or are raised or born in Japan. Or would you blame the Japanese for worrying if their culture was being replaced by white people like me? So there's an extensive fash history of referencing and revering Japan, especially for its more homogenous seeming population and Asian IQs. So yeah, just thought I'd mention that here. Also, what the fuck is wrong with anyone asking Elon to be a sperm donor? Like, why would you want that? High-profile woman is also very telling. Again, eugenicsy, breeding selection. No romance or anything, just sperm. I mean, that probably sums up most of Elon's interactions with women, I suspect. Oh man, I worry about how he's going to react to Ashley St. Clair sharing these DMs and messages with the mainstream press. I think it's a great thing she did. It's definitely in the public interest to know these things, and I hope more women will find a way to come forward. While Musk posts sometimes dozens of times a day on X about right-wing politics or his companies, among other things on his mind, he often interacts with lesser-known users. He replies to them and sometimes interacts through direct messages, some of whom he eventually solicits to have his babies, according to people who have viewed the messages. DMing randos for insemination. Just so fucked, and really sums up the ridiculous techno-fash timeline we exist in. Also, it's quite funny that on the same day as this article came out, where his DMs for baby making stuff was like shared with the world, there are some changes now being hinted at by some ex-employees. And I mean, ex as in the hell site's current name, not former employees. Such a dumb and annoying name. But let me quote the Mashable article on this. Zach Waranek, a software engineer at X, stated that the DM tab would be removed entirely. I mean, this is just like when people were writing about and reporting on how much Nazi shit Elon had in his likes tab. Suddenly, the likes on Twitter became private. Now, this article about his sleazeball cum offers via DM comes out, and, DMs as we know them are going away, apparently. Now, the software engineer later clarified again that the DM feature wasn't exactly being eliminated, but rewritten and replaced by something called XChat. Just unnecessarily fucking with shit till the hell site is no longer recognizable. And his embarrassing DMs are erased from any woman's DM tab, you know? Okay, back to the article. Cryptocurrency influencer Tiffany Fong was covering disgraced crypto tycoon Sam Bankman-Fried's downfall when Musk started liking and replying to her posts. Musk's interactions ramped up as Fong posted more political content in support of Trump, and Musk followed her last summer. During the height of her interactions with the billionaire owner, Fong earned $21,000 on the platform in a 2-week period in November, according to a screenshot she posted. That was about when Musk sent her a direct message asking if she was interested in having his child, according to people familiar with the matter. The two had never met in person. Fong didn't move forward with Musk because she pictured having children in a more traditional nuclear family, but confided to a few friends about the approach, including St. Clair, whom she knew as another conservative social media figure, and how she worried that turning him down could hurt her earnings. Oh boy, there's like a lot to unpack here. This is the first non-white woman we hear of in this article. Someone like Sam Harris, when he wasn't pissed at Musk for personal reasons, might say, "See, he's not racist. How can he be racist when he's offering his cum to an Asian right-wing influencer?" To which I'd respond, well, see what I said before about fashy fucks and they're constantly referring to high Asian IQs. And secondly, what a fucking loser. Imagine how embarrassing it must be to have your billionaire sperm rejected again and again. No amount of money in the world could convince her to agreeing to have a baby with him. And to someone who ties all his worth and value to that, well, it must sting. I did laugh when they wrote she pictured having children in a more traditional nuclear family. I guess that has been a right-wing sore spot too, the trad life breeders versus the futurist techno-fash IVF breeders. Yeah, one rift to keep an eye on, I guess. But yeah, fuck, just the boost from interacting with him and the visibility from his millions of followers got her 21,000 in 2 weeks at the height of it. Like, that would be a life-changing amount of money for me in a 2-week period. I am struggling here with a decade-old laptop and a decade-old mic where I'd love to be able to get some new equipment, but the suppression of engagement with non-right-wing content on Twitter plus the general demise of Twitter has impacted my earnings, so I have been considering doing a GoFundMe to raise just a couple of thousand so I can get a new laptop before this one dies on me and ends my podcast without notice. So keep an eye out for that, friends. Not yet, but hopefully soon. This old laptop of mine has been with me through a lot, but she's on her absolute last few breaths till the fundraiser is organized. As always, if you'd like to help support this show, please consider subscribing via patreon.com/nicemangoes. The instability in the world caused by Trump has definitely had an impact on my earnings already. So if you enjoy the show, please throw in a couple of bucks just to help keep it going. Anyway, yeah, Tiffany Fong. I can't imagine what it'd be like to earn like 20K off of nothing, just interacting on Twitter as a right-winger. Such a meritocracy we live in. The asymmetry between what you have to do to be rolling in cash as a right-wing creator versus earning a bare minimal amount as a left-wing creator is really, really striking. Imagine, it's a world where Dave Rubin is a multimillionaire, not because of any talent or intellect or creativity. Well, I suppose he has been a creative grifter. I'll give him that. But back to Tiffany Fong. Imagine having that fear hanging over you that you're going to lose all this easy money because you turned down the gross cum of the owner of the website that is allowing you to make this money. So many layers of unethical, the power imbalance, the pressure she would feel to not reject that obscene offer. And yet she did, thankfully. But oh, there were consequences. He got pissed at her, unfollowed her, didn't interact with her, leading to a sharp decline in that type of earning. Then the article moves on to talking about some of the background between Musk and Ashley St. Clair. Musk invited St. Clair, who had been an operations manager at a conservative media company that owns the Babylon Bee, of course, onto his private plane for a trip to Rhode Island where he was visiting one of his sons at college. The first time they had sex, Musk joked that they should pick a name for their future child. He frequently talked to her about having children, she said. It was months later on a New Year's trip to St. Bart's that she told him that she was ovulating. He asked her, "What are we waiting for?" And the two conceived their son on that trip, St. Clair said. The most shocking thing about this part in the article is that there's an actual claim that Musk had sex with someone. I thought he just walked around offering jars of cum to white women. Not actual sex, but here you go. And I mean, he's talking about having kids the first time he has this alleged sex with her. I can't think of anything more off-putting. You don't even know this person very well yet. How presumptuous to start talking about making babies the very first time you have sex. But she was into it, I guess. Jeez. And unfortunately, she's suffering because of that now. But at least she's had the courage to speak out about it, credit where it's due. Musk often has Burchell, that's his fixer guy, step in to handle negotiations with the women over arrangements for the pregnancy and financial support after. The arrangements play out in similar ways for different women, according to a document and people familiar with the matter. Just fucking creepy. Burchell was involved in acquiring the property for a compound in Austin, where Musk imagined the women and his growing number of babies would all live among multiple residences, according to a... Please subscribe via patreon.com/nicemangoes to access the extended episode. You can also purchase individual episodes via Patreon now. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to support it, there are several ways you can do that. You can share it online, talk about what you just heard. You can leave a 5-star review to help others find it too. And you can also subscribe via patreon.com/nicemangoes. No E in mangoes. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter before it's completely wrecked, you'll find me at Nice Mangoes. Again, no E in mangoes.